All right, let's start with one more pathogens. Let's see it back here and see if it actually picks up me talking. It should. All right. So we'll talk about bloodborne pathogens a little bit. For some people it's new. For some people it's old. We do know that. Trying to fall asleep. We do know that bloodborne pathogens. A lot of it has to do with emergency medical services, but we do respond to motor vehicle accidents where there could be bloodborne pathogens involved. We also respond to hazmat incidents, even people with dead bodies to assist EMS with lifting or whatever. So there's a potential to have a pathogen, whether it be airborne or bloodborne, to come in contact with. Or we try ourselves here at the station, right? So we gotta look at that. So we need to discuss what bloodborne pathogens are. So really they are, is a bloodborne pathogen is a microorganism, such as a virus or bacteria that is carried in blood and can cause disease in people. So it's something that can be infectious. Some types of bloodborne pathogens are malaria, syphilis, Hep B, HIV, brucellosis, are different ones that you can get as far as the bloodborne pathogens. Hep B is a virus or infection that causes inflammation in the liver. Right? With this, it's transmitted primarily through blood-to-blood contact, and with this can also lead to serious conditions such as cirrhosis and liver cancer. Basically, your liver, which is a very important part of your body, starts to die. Your liver passes medications through it, passes other things through it, alcohol, things like that. And it uses as a kind of like a filter and kind of like a first pass going through to kind of help start the process of metabolizing through the system. If that fails, you're having liver failure, you tend not to last too long after that. You start becoming very jaundiced, all right? So yellow skin, yellow eyes, and really creepy looking stuff. So with that, in turn, can lead to death. So we really want to make sure we take care of ourselves. It can survive in dry blood up to 7 days. So, I mean, if you come in contact with blood in our gear, the whole schools are all bloodied up and everything else. It's got to get laundered because it can last up to 7 days. You're putting that back in your vehicle and your kids and you and your family and everything else. So, really something we need to look into, taking care of our stuff. There really is no cure for hepatitis B, but there is a vaccine for treatment for HPV. But many people develop antibodies to fight the disease, which may prevent further infections. So it does, you can start getting antibodies and things like that to help try to fight off the disease. Some symptoms would be like mild flu-like symptoms, fatigue, possible stomach pain, loss of appetite, nausea, jaundice, and darkened urine. All right, so flu, we know what the flu is, right? All right, fatigue, weakness, stomach pain, like the flu, right? Loss of appetite. The nausea and darkened urine can be like dehydration. A lot of those are the symptoms of the common flu as well. So kind of keep that in mind. But you sure want to look like a big bird, that's wrong. Yeah, that's a bad thing. All right, so as far as the vaccinations go, vaccinations are offered to you. They are paid for by the department. It is not a requirement to get. If you choose not to get them, then you have to sign a waiver of the hepatitis B form vaccination, and the department has to provide you with a waiver form. And it goes on your file. If you choose to get it, it's a series of 3 shots. That day is 2. A series of 3 shots that you can be administered over at occupational health, or it's called a workwell, either Bedford or Sanford. Everybody in here either have started or have the vaccine done or signed a waiver. Anybody has not signed a waiver yet? Everybody here has? If you have it, we need to know because that's a portion of violation. I have no idea.
You went to Workwell and they gave you shots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started it. So you're supposed to go back after 3 months and then 6 months later. It's a series of 3 shots. If you haven't received all 3 yet, if you skip them, you have to start them over again because it won't take again.
You feel miserable?
Yep. True story. Series of 3 shots. The second shot, you're one month after the first, and then 5 months after the second shot. So if you have not received all those in the time you've been here, you stop going, you got to start over again.
Oh, great.
All right, you need to follow through. This is actually a pretty expensive shot too. It's a couple $100 to get this stuff done. So you need to start the series or sign a waiver saying you don't want it. That's totally up to you. All right, so AIDS, or the HIV virus. That's an acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which is caused by a virus called the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, and it may be up to many years for AIDS to actually develop. So you can live with that virus for a long period of time. It could be up to 10 years, 20 years. You could die in a normal life from just HIV before you actually develop full-blown AIDS. What this does is it attacks the body's immune system, weakening it so they cannot fight other deadly diseases. So that it is, AIDS is fatal. And as far as I know, there's no cure. I know they're always working on stuff and doing different things to kind of help try to find a cure for it, for the HIV virus. But there are medications that take to kind of suppress it a little bit. So knowing that, it destroys your immune system. The thing that fights off any kind of disease, whether it be the flu or anything else you might come in contact with, pneumonia, things like that. So if you get those things, having HIV, you can become very sick very quickly. HIV in direct contact. So the HIV virus is very fragile, will not survive very long outside the human body. So it's primarily a concern to employees providing first aid or medical care in situations involving fresh blood or other potentially infectious materials. Motor vehicle crash, we need manpower. I look at Brian and say, hey, I need you to hop in the car and hold C-spine. Okay, patient's face is all cut to crap, blood everywhere, and you gotta put your hands on them. So make sure you're wearing your gloves. Not the structural gloves either. Make sure you're wearing a non-latex gloves. You can put those on and put structural gloves over them. That's perfectly fine. That's allowed if you want to do it that way.
The red extrication gloves we all have the
Bloodborne barrier.
Yeah.
Even still, even if they do have them or do not, still wear gloves underneath them if you're going to deal with bodily fluids.
It's a junk, you have to know.
Yep, they are. So, but if you do have to wear them on your hands, make sure you're wearing gloves underneath them if you're going to come in contact with any kind of bodily fluid. Symptoms of HIV: weakness, fever, sore throat, nausea, headaches, diarrhea, white coating of the tongue, weight loss, and swollen lymph glands. So you'll see those right in your neck, like around here. Your lymph nodes that are there. Those are things that we often have issues with. If you look at the list, a lot of them are pretty similar to the hepatitis one, right? Something to think about. They're transmitted through vaginal secretions, semen, cerebral spinal fluid, synovial fluid, which is in the joints, so the synovial joints in your fingers, things like that. Oral fluid, peritoneal fluid, amniotic fluid, and saliva. So a lot of those could be, a lot of it's mostly EMS care. Cerebral spinal fluid you might see in a motor vehicle accident, depending on what kind of injury you have in the brain. As far as peritoneal fluid, maybe something with the abdomen being open, things like that. As far as skin, your skin, it does provide a barrier. However, it's still not the end-all be-all. You need to wear gloves. Our broken skin forms an impervious barrier against bloodborne pathogens. However, they can still enter through open sores, cuts, abrasions, acne, blisters, sunburn, and kind of broken skin. So you need to be protected. They also can enter through mucous membranes. So if you ever wonder what a mucous membrane is, you like pull your eyelid back and that pink inside there or behind your lips, that's a mucous membrane. And that can be entered through the eyes, nose, and mouth. So don't take that HIV positive blood and rub it in your mouth at all. Something to be aware of though is sometimes you deal with patients, unruly patients in motor vehicle accidents, and they may be rude to you and spit at you. Okay, I've been spit in the face before and it's disgusting. Thank God, I got tested and it was fine, but still, you never know what they're going to do to you. As far as signs and labels go, we used to carry these labels on the engine. I'm pretty sure we probably don't do that now, but years ago we used to. And we had contact with a motor vehicle accident, and there was blood on the windshield. We'd put the sticker on the windshield so people would know there was blood there. They're really not that expensive to get, something that's not a bad option.
My recommended is put some oil in the tanker.
They may have. All right. So what is regulated waste? So that's something we need to know about as well. Is what goes into a red container versus a trash. So any liquid or semi-liquid blood or other potentially infectious materials is regulated waste. So the way we look at it here is, if you take like a 2x2 or a 4x4, whip some blood up like this here, that can go in a trash can. That's perfectly fine. If you can take a towel and wring it out and blood starts dripping, that's red bag material. Okay, red bags are very expensive, not to purchase, but to get rid of. All right, and it does cost some money to do that. So we got to keep that in mind. I'm not saying that we're trying to save money here. What I'm trying to say is, put what belongs in a red bag in a red bag. Put what belongs in a yellow bag or a trash bag in a trash bag or a yellow bag.
They did it at the state before. They freaking found I don't know what it was, a needle or something. We had red bags at the state. They go, really?
You come across needles, which could happen at a crash. Not saying that people do heroin around here. All right. But you're still even a diabetic, that uses insulin. If you come in contact with a needle, all right, if you need to pick it up, not by the sharp end, pick it up by the plunger side of it, and bring it to the ambulance and put it in the shark's container.
Or if you have a bottle right there, put it in a bottle.
That works too.
That's what we did on the side of the
Yeah.
state road when we picked trash and stuff. Well, I had to find the bottle, stuff in the bottle.
Now, before doing that, should you let law enforcement know if they're on scene that you found it?
Yeah, let them know they're there. I'm sure they won't do anything about it. I know in some states you can shoot up, they don't care. They don't. People are going to do what they got to do. All right. As far as emergencies go, in any emergency situation, you should always use universal precautions. Again, any one of you may end up with something that has to do with EMS. I mentioned that because you're on the fire department and fire department does respond. Okay, there's maybe times. So in that case, cardiac arrest, medical patient, trauma patient, ATV accident in the woods, fire is dispatched to help with an assist. Either way, gloves at minimum. Okay, if there's any potential for a kind of splash, so patients like projectile vomiting or there's arterial bleed, blood squirting everywhere, you really want to have splash goggles on. If you're using any kind of resuscitation, we do not do mouth-to-mouth anymore. So pocket mouth-to-mouth mask, resuscitation masks, or any kind of other barrier that you would utilize. So everybody in here is supposed to be CPR certified. If someone have not had it yet, that's something that can happen in the future. When you get your CPR and first aid cards, go from there. It used to be to be able to have Fire 1, you had to have CPR and first aid, and you couldn't pass.
We all had it right now.
So we can definitely set up another class here again. If you are exposed, you want to wash the area thoroughly with soap and water. Really scrub everything. Fingernails, behind fingernails, whatever you can do, scrub everything. All right, you want to make sure you use non-abrasive antibacterial soap, right? If you use an abrasive orange cleaner, granted it'll come off, right? But you're also creating small lesions on your hands, and that's where it also opens up for more infection. Flush the mouth, nose, and eyes for 15 minutes, and blood is splashed into the mucous membranes. Now, we used to have, I think we still do downstairs, we have a setup for eye washing and things like that, right?
It's in the mouth.
Okay. In all reality, I'm going to get 15 minutes out of that. You have 2 bottles, all right? And really, we should have a sink set up with the eye stations. You can turn it on and flush. But those meet state standards, and we got those many, many years ago. If you do happen to be exposed, you have to report it to your supervisor, okay? Or in theory, it's exposure control officer. Unless the fire department has not designated someone to do that, and everything falls back on the chief. Remember that. If there's no assigned designation, the chief is then responsible. So he has to be notified. You have to fill out an exposure report form, an injury report form as well, which means that you have to notify Carl at the town hall to get one of those done. You have 24 hours to complete that. On weekends, you have 48 hours to complete it by state standards. You need the exposure report form should be in the exposure control plan. There should be a form that's in there that you can take out, photocopy is probably the only one that's in there, if there's a photocopy machine around, and fill out the information. But exposures, and that means any kind of exposure, all right, that you may have. And then also request blood testing and Hep B vaccination. What they'll do is they'll give you a check a titer, make sure it's still good as well. So, same thing with an injury. Any injury that you have, if you pick up something and you cut your finger, that's still considered an injury. You're supposed to report that because if you cut finger could turn into something with an infection in your blood. We talked about sepsis here, but something that can kill you, which means it's, for those who don't know what sepsis is, it's they call it bacteremia, so it's bacteria that gets into the bloodstream and makes it a full body or systemic reaction.
It's bad.
It's bad. Sepsis is bad. It can kill you. No, that's all it's done from a paper cut or a cut finger. If you didn't document it that it happened here, then when you start getting sick later on, workers' comp's not going to cover you. And that comes out of your own dime on your own pocket unless you have health insurance. And even still, with deductibles and everything else. So think about that. If you have an injury, document it. Doesn't mean you have to go to the hospital, but it was still documented right then and there on what happened. Same thing with an exposure. All right, so personal protective equipment, without reading through this whole entire slide, because all you guys are smart enough to be able to read this here on your own. Wear the appropriate gear for the appropriate task at hand. So in your policy book, you have what they call a task hazard analysis. And with that tells you, here's the task, here are the hazards, here's what you're going to wear on the call. And those have to be followed. Okay? So motor vehicle accident, full PPE, right? Traffic vest, ANSI 3 requirements, right? Hazard, struck by vehicle. You know, that's a hazard that's there to be seen. All right, so those are different things that you have to follow. That's why these rules are put into place to protect us. All the rules to follow is treat all blood or potentially infectious bodily fluids as they are contaminated. Remember, it's not yours. If it's icky, sticky, and gooey and not yours, what do you not do? Don't touch it, don't step in it and play it like a puddle. Right? We're not little kids jumping in blood. Right? We gotta make sure that we don't touch this unless we have the appropriate materials. Always wear personal protective equipment in exposure situations. Replace any PPE that is torn or punctured. So turnout gear, if it's torn, it's out of service until it's repaired. Right? Let the chief know. I'm probably going over to Newfield. Be taken care of if he's still in business. Remove PPE before leaving a work area. Turnout gear should not be upstairs. This is a living area, right? You shouldn't be bringing contamination to a living area. There should be a boundary where you stop going. Don't bring it into your homes. I understand that it's cold outside, you want to warm your gear up, but don't bring it into your home. If you have like a breezeway or something you put it in to keep it out of the weather, that's fine. You don't want to bring it inside. Don't put it by the wood stove, you know, or by your heaters, things like that. Granted, it's going to be warm, but if you haven't had it cleaned and laundered appropriately, the gases that are on there still all gas in your house. You may not be able to smell it, but now you got a kid that walks around and gets into it. It can cause a lot of damage, right? So think about that kind of stuff. Putting it in your vehicle, like in your back seat. You know, put it in the very back. Put it in a container in the very back if you have an SUV or a car. Or put it in your seat where people actually sit. Dispose and disinfect, properly disinfect or dispose of used PPE. Please don't throw away your turnout gear. And wash your hands immediately after removing any kind of stuff. Gloves should be made of non-latex, nitrile rubber or any other water impervious materials. Inspect them before you put them on. If they're ripped, don't wear them. You can wear double gloves if you want. That is an option. If you have cuts, sores in your hand, you really should put a bandage on those or Band-Aids first before you put the gloves on. And do not touch the outside of the gloves. So after this, we're supposed to do like a glove scenario. Has anybody here not done that before? The glove scenario, how to take them off appropriately? Who has not done it? Put your hand up. We're going to go downstairs and grab 2 sets of gloves so you guys can try them on. Practice taking them off. Chris, you want to grab a pair for yourself so you can demonstrate it? Thanks. As far as goggles, face shields, and aprons, these are all carried on the ambulance. Okay, so if you're at a scene and you need these, EMS can provide them to you to assist. There should be like 3 or 4 kits. I think 4 kits on the ambulance. And there's also the Ebola suits are on there still too, I believe. Remember, aprons do protect a lot, especially when you're delivering a baby. That can be messy. Contaminated clothing, remove clothing that's contaminated with blood or anything as soon as possible. If you do happen to transport, let's say you're in the back of the ambulance because you're assisting with fire, we need help doing CPR, and you transport with us. Let's say they vomit all over you or blood or something else that squirts on you that's disgusting. At the hospital, they'll provide you with scrubs to wear to bring back home. And you put stuff in a bag to be laundered. In the past, I can only speak for the past, if your personal clothing got destroyed on a call, they would normally replace it for you if it was destroyed. But I'm not sure how that works now. People check with the chiefs. As far as handling the equipment, where the appropriate protective equipment you need, and place it in the appropriate bag. So your turnout gear, unless it is completely saturated, soaked, and full of blood, all right, it can go into a yellow bag or a trash bag. If you're going to do that, make sure that the gear is separated and it has to go to Long Right Cleaners in Sanford. Okay? Make sure you put the department name on it and your name on it. So that way they know whose gear it is and what department to bill. All right? Make sure you separate the liner from the shell. Remember, hand washing is very important. As far as hygiene rules, in the back of the ambulance, don't eat, drink, smoke, or apply cosmetics, or handle contact lenses, things like that. Never eat in the back of the ambulance.
Yeah, because that never happens.
Let's see. As far as decontamination or sterilization, all surfaces, tools, equipment, things like that need to be sterilized and cleaned. So let's skip EMS a little bit and let's go to the fire side of this. When you come back from a building fire, your packs should be scrubbed down, your tools should be scrubbed down with soap and water and clean to be put back on the apparatus. All right, really, you should be taking your bottles off, wiping down your bottles. For those of you that are interior certified that have been to some fires, you know you get dirty. All right, the packs need to be scrubbed and cleaned. Remember, the pass devices, though, do not do well being submerged in water. All right, and it's about $700 a pass device to replace those. Keep that in mind, that's all. But make sure you scrub stuff, spray things down, get them clean, let them dry, put them back in the trucks and ready to go for the next call. All right, make sure you're cleaning all your tools, using a pike pole, using a closet hook, using an axe, Halligan, whatever. Make sure that you're cleaning those at the end of your calls. Put them back in the truck. As far as decontamination is with here, use Lysol or some kind of other EPA registered tuberculocidal disinfectant. I have no idea what rescue's using now.
I know
They used to have capsicized.
I believe they're still capsicized now,
Okay.
but they've also got a new thing for cleaning the floor and stuff in the ambulance.
Yeah. So that stuff there can be utilized.
They've also got the purple stuff down there too.
Yeah. That's called purple stuff.
Yeah.
All right. As far as spill cleanup goes, if you have a spill on the ground, let it sit for 10 minutes. Not the spill, but the chemical you put in there to clean it. Let it do its work, and then clean it up afterwards. If you have glass on the ground, please don't pick it up with your hands. Use a dustpan and broom. As far as needles go, recap needles only with a mechanical device. I have to mention this stuff here. Use forceps, pliers, or a broom and a dustpan pick up or remove needles. Never break or shear them off. Don't stick them into the bed sheet of the ambulance. Needles also must be disposed in a labeled sharps container. So these things here with needles. As far as broken glass goes, don't use your hands. That's pan and room. All right. Any other questions at all on bloodborne pathogens? All right.